Well, good morning. This was our way to find out who is truly dedicated on covering the Capitol after 2 hours of sleep. I'm joined today by Minnesota Budget Director Anna Mingy, who herself is on 2 hours of sleep. But just really happy today to note that in the most narrowly divided legislature in the country, 100 Republicans, 101 Democrats, against a backdrop of division and dysfunction in D.C., we were able to pass a bipartisan biennium budget that protects and continues to grow Minnesota's ability to take care of our families, whether it's through a child tax credit, paid family medical leave, meals at schools, and also capitalizes on our innovation economy, things like the R&D tax credit and flexibility around the Forward Fund. And the thing that I said when we joined here in January and I put out my first initial budget, that while Minnesota's in a solid shape and we have a budget surplus for the biennium of about $2 billion, that over the horizon, since we do something many states don't, looking at the fiscal responsibility on some of the areas where growth must be contained or we're not able to maintain the services. This bipartisan legislature tackled that. And not only do we have about $2 billion on the bottom line, which we meet our constitutional responsibility to balance the budget, we are nearly balanced in the second biennium out, and that structural imbalance for 28-29 has been reduced by almost 50%. That puts Minnesota in a strong position. Add on to that we were able to pass a significant bonding bill to do asset preservation as well as invest in new needed things, especially around public safety, whether it's a new state patrol headquarters or whether it's a BCA facility to serve processing of crime and other evidence in the southern part of the state in Mankato. A lot of local water projects and of course the investments that we continue to make in infrastructure. This is a solid bill and couldn't have been done without months of conversation. Look, I think all of us know the dysfunction we see nationally. People assume that that's the way it works. This session started out rocky, kind of a strange set of circumstances around the election in the House and some of the things that happened in the Senate. But amongst all that, folks continued to talk. And I've said this, I've been doing this for 20 years, both as a legislator and as the executive. I think this must be the most impressive achievement. The sense of professionalism that went on, the sense of listening to one another that I think was really incredible. I'm going to give some thanks to a few people here. I want to thank Speaker Demuth in the House. 67-67, the agreement was reached. Speaker Demuth took that in. She came into every meeting, her and her team prepared. She listened. She forcefully put her position forward. She rebutted, but she did it with a sense of understanding where people were coming from. Mark Johnson, it's not often that the minority leader in a body many times is not even included in some of the discussions. That is both Democrats and Republican tradition. But Senator Murphy, the majority leader in the Senate, insisted that Senator Johnson be there. And at the end of the day, Senator Johnson played a key role in not only getting the budget deal through the Senate, he played a key role in getting a bonding bill done. And Senator Murphy, in a narrowly divided caucus, understanding that there are peripheral issues with some of those members, she was able to hold that caucus together. She was able to take the hard votes that were necessary and continued to move the conversation forward. And then I'll just say this. Again, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've worked with some of the most accomplished legislators, both on a national level and state level. But Speaker Emerita Hortman is amongst the very finest. Her pragmatic ability, her deep knowledge of how the process works, and her willingness to be pragmatic and find deals where it doesn't appear like there was, help get this done. To the other legislators who were there, the chairs, the ranking members contributed greatly to this. And our state agency leaders, I'm going to give a special shout out. MMB Commissioner Aaron Campbell, long hours, 20-hour days there every day, an incredible encyclopedic knowledge of how state government functions and finding new paths forward. And then the person who has the sheets with many small numbers on it constantly, Anna Mingy, who's there to help. And what I really appreciate is I believe, and I think if you talk to them, the legislators, Republicans included in this, trust the nature of these nonpartisan folks who are there to give the numbers, and they give the hard truths. It's one of the reasons why I came out in this budget and said we're going to have to do something very difficult. We're going to have to ask for very tight budgets. We're going to have to ask to curb growth. We're going to ask folks to cut in certain areas over the horizon, or at least cut increases to get this done, and we're going to have to stick to that. That's because of the numbers, because of the deep knowledge that these folks possess. So at the end of the day, we all made concessions. We came together. I can't stress enough that the fiscal responsibility in this bill, for some of you, I asked my team to pull it up. I stood in front of you a couple years ago when the statement was, this is the largest increase in state government budgets in history. Well, today, this is the largest decrease in state history because the one-time funding ended, exactly as we said a couple years ago. It's fiscally responsible. It puts us on a path to continue the growth in Minnesota, to continue to be an innovator, continue to improve people's lives, making us the best state in the country to raise a child in. So DC's not able to do this. Democracy is strong and functioning in Minnesota. So with that, be glad to try and take a few questions. I'll sign them all. I look forward to signing them. I think the process here is that it was pretty late. Our teams all are getting a little sleep. Get through the revisers that are final stuff that needs to be looked at. They'll get over to us. We'll do our due process on that, and truly look forward to signing them all.
Are you concerned you're going to be back here in a few months dealing with Viking cuts and how we're going to work?
Well, it's a hypothetical, but yes, and I think we brought that up, and I kept trying to steer this back. One of my jobs is to bring it all together and to get it done, and I'm proud. This is 4 times in a row, balanced budget growth in Minnesota, but with a recognition over the horizon, if this monstrosity or atrocity, I think as Elon Musk put it, is able to pass, it will have catastrophic effects. It will, what we did here will be undermined, especially in the areas of impact around Medicare, around food security, around education. So I kept bringing us back to that, but I insisted that we focus on what we could control. We focused on our budget. We focused on what we know right now, but with an eye over the horizon, because it would be catastrophic. So yes, I think there's I would anticipate now, certainly if the bill passes anywhere near what it looks like now, we will be back.
Governor, Leader Fiscal indicated, and I'm paraphrasing, that if lawmakers come back in September to fix the problems that the federal government has created, that would create a nice platform for you for your national ambitions. How do you respond to that?
I don't have any much to say. I don't know. I don't think so. I think we're going to have to fix this, and that's my goal. My goal here is to make sure, as I said, my number one job is to keep folks in Minnesota safe and to pass balanced budgets. And I will say this again, and I'll give credit to all those other folks too, that all of us together, especially those 5, were able to do something that I think maybe nowhere else is going to be able to do. Narrowest of margins, bring it together. So if we come back again, my focus will be on making Minnesota safe and secure and prosperous.
Now that it's done, do you still feel it was the right move to give the Republicans that compromise on Minnesota care?
Well, I don't agree with them. The question about undocumented care, look, it is federal law, not only mentioning its moral responsibility, that if someone needs medical care, we are required, hospitals and care facilities are required by federal law to give that care. So if anybody thinks they're not getting care, that is simply not true, and it would be against the law to turn them away, not to mention it would make you a horrible human being. The fact of the matter is it's super expensive, it's not really effective, and it ends up costing all of us money. So let's be clear, if you have a moral or a political aversion to someone getting health care, an undocumented individual, I understand that, but don't try and sell it as a cost savings. It's not that. But it became very clear in negotiations week after week after week that the Republicans were willing to go all the way to the end on this and would not be able to deliver votes, because I recognize this. Republicans voted for things they did not want in this too. And the trade is that the only way they would ever give those votes is if we did this and pulled that care back at the end of the year, starting January 1st. I insisted, and this is one where I will give credit, and I think to Leader Hortman and Leader Murphy made very strong cases, and the red line I had is children have to get covered, and I would note that's children going forward too. New children can be added on to this, and that was the right compromise. And I think Leader Damath understood that. So look, I suppose there's people out there, if the what ifs or whatever. I've done this for 20 years. I've been there. I've passed 4 budgets. We've done it bipartisanly. We've done it with a majority. It is my assessment, I think it was the assessment of the other leaders, that we were going to go to a shutdown over this issue if we weren't willing to find a compromise.
Now that the session is done, will you run for governor?
I want to finish this up, sign the bills, get this done. I think I'm trying to enjoy this moment for a little bit, but as I said, I will say this might be one of the most satisfying moments since I've been governor, to be able to bring together a budget like this, to be able to push a fiscally responsible budget that I still think makes Minnesota competitive. So I said, we'll spend a little time here, talk with my family. I'll travel around Minnesota, and my pledge was to get out an announcement on that if it's right for Minnesota. But I say today a little bit of mixed feelings. It feels like you just finished a marathon and someone's asking you if you want to run another one. But it also is the excitement of democracy's working here. This is a big deal. Look, I've always said you shouldn't get patted on the back what you're supposed to do. We're supposed to get a budget done. That's the way it works. But I think all of us recognize the world that we're living in right now and the divisions. 101 to 100 with such strong feelings against the backdrop of what we're seeing in D.C. and across the country in this moment, L.A. included, to be able to bring this together, to get the votes and button this things up. This is the way governments, this is why I got into this business, to try and make a difference, work together, compromise, find common ground.
Is there one more?
Governor, for 2026, are you concerned that there might be backlash among some of the Democrats' strongest supporters of this Minnesota Care situation? Or might Democrats' stance pull somewhere in the middle, Republicans' way rather than your way, the Democrats' way in 2026?
I don't know the speculation on this. I think, this is broadly, this was give and take. Again, if we had not made a compromise around this, we would have lost all of the other things, not to mention we'd have put our state at risk on fiscal responsibility if we've gone to a shutdown. But I do think, and it's kind of the air that I breathe, I think there's a snapshot here of how things can work. And while this was and I don't think we should miss this, it was very contentious how things started out. And we had some really weird things happen to members during this time. But the collegiality, or at least the commitment to making democracy work, was as strong as I've seen. And that is a testament to all the players involved. So I think if anything, maybe this ratchets down. I don't know what they're seeing. Maybe ratchets down some of that tension, and folks start to focus on what is really improving our lives. What are the decisions that are being made, and not just that I'm on my team, you're the enemy. So I feel good that I think we set a nice example, because other states across the country, just to be clear, many of my fellow governors are not just facing out-year structural imbalances, they're facing current deficits right now, and that's a very difficult situation. So. Yeah.
There were some frustrations from some lawmakers about the level of transparency in this kind of interim period while they were working on the budget. A lot of these working groups only met in the public once they had a deal on their section of the budget. Do you have any thoughts about the level of transparency in these budget negotiations?
Yeah, this is the way it works. All these bills were posted, things were out there. We had many months to debate them. We got them. We got this done. We got it in. And many of these things there's transparency, there's things that you put out there. But some of these discussions have to happen in that mode, because you have to hear each other out and then have the ability to go out and cast hard votes. This was a very difficult compromise on this undocumented. And you saw the courage of leadership of Aaron Murphy and Melissa Hortman, who put the good of the state above a short-term decision. And it broke their hearts, to both of them, to have to do this, but they did it. And I think getting to those points, very difficult to do that in public, very difficult, and I think individual legislators have to recognize, and this is very hard when it's 101 to 100, because virtually everyone holds a veto, that you have to be part of a larger group to be able to get the numbers done. That's just the nature of democracy. So no, I think at the end of the day, this is a sausage-making situation. This morning, we have some really good sausage that we were able to get done. And how you get there, you get there. I'm just proud of that. So really grateful. Thank you. I'm going to tell you that I am really looking forward to this, though. I am leaving directly from here to the first boys state volleyball high school tournament in Minnesota history to go cheer on the St. Paul Central Minutemen. And really grateful for that. St. Thomas is hosting it. If some of you are covering this, we added a new high school sport this year, boys volleyball, over 2,000 participants. We have 8 teams left in that thing. It'll be 3 days down there. So thank you all, and it was a good session.